After one of the longest, saddest, and really what felt like most humiliating weeks in our country's history, we were desperately in need of some good news on combating Donald Trump and Elon Musk's administration. And that's exactly what we got, because the illegal actions that have been taken by DOGE at the permission of Donald Trump and clearly at the instruction of Elon Musk, even though the White House doesn't want to admit that because they understand the legal liability involved in it, yeah, they're finally getting the pushback that they had coming to them. And it comes in the form of a lawsuit that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, we have finally gotten the attention that is deserved on the very specific elements of these mass firings, and that is what this lawsuit is going to get into, a very specific purge by Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But before we get into it, I think Rachel Maddow shines some light on another aspect of these purges not getting enough attention, and I want to take a look.
Do not let anyone tell you that pushback does not matter. Look at this. This was the headline Tuesday night at the Washington Post. DOGE to cancel government contracts that help veterans, records show. Quote, the 875 contracts on the chopping block help cover medical services, fund cancer programs, recruit doctors, and provide burial services to veterans, according to internal VA documents. Also, a contract to, quote, safely dispose of chemical waste. Yeah, who needs that? Look, the word waste is right there. Let's cut that. So this is the VA. This is healthcare for American military veterans. Here's Donald Trump announcing proudly as president, right? We're slashing funding for cancer care for American military veterans. Also, burial services. Literally, burial services for veterans. And hey, just toss that chemical waste out back behind the shed. It'll be fine. But put that back up there. That was the headline at the Washington Post Tuesday night. DOGE to cancel government contracts that help veterans. This was Tuesday night. But then look at this. This was less than 24 hours later. Ding! Under pressure, VA halts contract cancellations in major reversal. After one night and one day of shock and outrage at what Trump was doing, hey, turns out they decided to reverse it. Not going to do it. Don't let anybody tell you that pushback doesn't work. That said, it's not like they're leaving veterans alone. The Trump administration fired 1,000 people who work at the VA 2 weeks ago. This week, they fired 1,400 more people who work at the VA. Leo Shane, reporting at the Military Times, quote, officials said the moves did not impact any mission-critical jobs, but, quote, did not provide any specifics of the types of assignments that were eliminated. One VA official telling NBC News, quote, it's leading to paralysis and nothing is getting done. The official described absolute chaos at the agency, with even Trump political appointees afraid to misstep and incur a backlash from either the White House or the public. As bad as this already is, though, heads up that the kinds of cuts we've seen this far might be an order of magnitude smaller than the cuts that Trump has coming next. The American Prospect was first to report that the Social Security Administration is preparing to slash fully 50% of its workers. That would mean filing nearly 30,000 people who work on getting people their Social Security checks.
This is the most anti-veteran administration in history. We have to continue to hammer home that point, especially for a demographic that voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump and is now being completely betrayed by him. Not only losing their jobs, but losing this promise that he was going to be a pro-peace president. Now he's defending Putin, going to war. Now he's saying he wants to invade, Gaza, the Panama Canal, Canada, Greenland. This is your pro-peace guy. It is the most promises I have ever seen broken in such quick succession, and we have to point to all of them. That's what we have to do. And we also have to point out the fact that it's illegal, which is what this lawsuit finally does. So let's take a look. A federal judge has ruled that President Donald Trump's firing of a federal workforce watchdog was illegal paving the way for a potential Supreme Court battle over Trump's attempt to reshape the executive branch in his image. U.S. District Judge Amy Berman Jackson ruled that Hampton Dillinger, head of the Office of Special Counsel, can continue to serve his 5-year term, overruling Trump's attempted firing, which was done via email. Last month, Trump attempted to fire Dillinger in a one-sentence email despite the fact that his term is fixed at 5 years unless he is removed for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office. Lawyers for the Trump administration have argued that Trump has the power to remove Dillinger without any cause, arguing that a 1978 statute passed by Congress after the Watergate scandal that restricts the president's ability to fire the head of the Office of Special Counsel is unconstitutional. In her opinion, Jackson wrote that Dillinger's independence is inextricably intertwined with the performance of his duties, adding that the elimination of the restrictions on plaintiff's removal would be fatal to the defining and essential feature of the Office of Special Counsel as it was conceived by Congress and signed into law by the president, its independence. The court concludes that they must stand. A major lawsuit was also filed against Elon Musk for his secrecy at DOGE. The New York Times writing, Elon Musk likes to talk about transparency, but a major story my colleagues published today shows how he baked secrecy into his Department of Government Efficiency from the start. Now, that secrecy is emerging as a key legal target in the courts. Several lawsuits filed in recent weeks are pushing the administration to be more transparent about Musk and his initiative's activities. They argue that the administration is violating the nation's public records laws, and in some cases, they are essentially asking judges to determine that the department is an agency that's subject to those laws. These lawsuits are essentially saying you can't have an agency that's this powerful, that's making these enormous decisions, that's also entirely secret and cut off from the public, said John Schaub, a professor at the University of Kentucky who advised President Biden on matters of executive privilege. So we are finally seeing some pushback on not just the mass purges from Elon Musk of some of the most important government workers, but Donald Trump's entire plan to really uproot any check or balance on him in the federal government, in the executive branch. Donald Trump wants to coalesce as much power as he possibly can in the Oval Office and only use it to serve himself and his friends. It is also largely what we've seen with the actions in the MAGA House and the MAGA Senate. And the reason why it's really interesting that they're moving forward with a continuing resolution that would fund a lot of the same government agencies and programs that Donald Trump and Elon Musk said that they would not be sending money to or are shutting down. If they really believed that there was waste, fraud, and abuse there, they would want to go through Congress to change it. But it's very clear that Donald Trump doesn't want that to happen, or at least doesn't want it to happen in large part, because he wants to be the one to do so. Donald Trump wants to have the power of the purse. He wants to put all of the decision-making power in the Oval Office. It's largely what a lot of this is about, is how much control he can put in his own hands to decide how our government works. And we know how he wants it to work. For Elon, for him, for Bezos, for Zuck, his buddies who help him out on the media side, throw a couple $100 million into his campaign, make sure all of his narratives work, cutting out the opinions at the Washington Post he doesn't like, fixing Instagram's algorithm to support only Trump content. And we already know the cesspool that Twitter is. That's what it's about, serving the billionaires. And Greg Kazar, someone we love on the show, called that out right here.
But I don't really like their odds because House Republicans and billionaires are picking a fight with working Americans. And in a democracy, the people win. 8 years ago, when extreme Republicans had the White House and both the House and the Senate, they had the money. They had their plan to take health care away from millions of Americans and end the Affordable Care Act. But the American people won and those House Republicans lost. And we're right back in the same situation. Because today something is happening in America. Americans are rising up to say we want a government by and for the people, not by and for the billionaires. You see it in protests and marches and at Republican town halls all across the country. I can promise you, even though when the press go and ask some of these Republicans whether they're worried about what they're seeing at their town halls, whether they're worried about those protests, they have to lie through their teeth when they say they're not worried, because we hear them in the hallway worried. They're worried because they know that they have a choice. They can either be representatives of their districts or they can act like Trump Musk employees. They have that choice. And they know that if they keep acting as Trump Musk employees, that the people in their district are going to demand a representative. And that puts them in a tight spot. And while the Republicans say they have a majority, they're not telling the full truth there. It's a very thin majority. And if just 3 House Republicans choose to act as representatives of their districts rather than Trump Organization employees, then we can block this billionaire tax ripoff, protect working families, save our health care as we know it. Just 3 Republicans who will say, no, we're not going to kick people off of their health care to pay Elon Musk even more money. To get there, we're going to need to share stories like the ones you will hear today, and we will need coalitions like this one to educate and organize people across the country. In Washington, we Democratic leaders need to step up because courage inspires courage. And so I know that I and my colleagues here today are ready to go to the mat and fight all the way until we stop this budget and finally demand that instead of a tax break for greedy billionaires, that we actually tax those greedy billionaires and expand the programs that working people deserve.
It is very clear what this is all and always about. It is about serving the billionaires as Donald Trump sees what he can get from them. That's his plan. Every aspect, every element of every action can always come back to that. What is Donald Trump doing to serve his rich friends, and how is he trying to distract you from the fact that that's what he's doing? Mentioned this yesterday, but I saw a lot of conservatives saying that it was a conspiracy to say that the meeting with President Zelensky, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance, the way it played out was a setup. That was a conspiracy. No, it was that Zelensky had been disrespectful, and that's what spurred on the anger from Trump. Where? No one has yet to point to the singular clip in which Zelensky said anything that could have started that meltdown from Trump. This was pre-planned. It's the reason they had their talking points ready. It's the reason they were ready to kick Zelensky out of the White House. It's the reason those Republicans were waiting there to go out and talk to the press. They were prepared to do this. They want to distract you. They cannot. We have to stay focused and calling them out, and we are going to do so every single day on the show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.